Hello and welcome back to Rebecca for a tag video. I, as always, am hopelessly behind on tags, but I wanted to get to this one. I was tagged by the lovely Annie of Obscure Book Adventures, and this is the favorite people tag. I believe that you have to be an actual monster to name off only one single person in each of these categories, because I have seen so many people do this tag video, and every time I do see somebody go through these prompts, I think of a dozen or half a dozen people to name off, but I'm going to try to keep it limited. I'm gonna go with what's in my gut right now. So this is the favorite people tag. Prompt number one is name your favorite author. I don't have a favorite author. I think that's a really tough ask for any reader, but I have a pantheon, a holy trinity of authors, and they are, I'm gonna do my best Vanna White here, right behind me. As you can see, we've got Ursula K. Le Guin, Neil Gaiman, and Terry Pratchett. So those are my favorite authors because they all really talk about the human condition and make social commentary in their work. They all very much connect with us as human beings and our place in the world, and they seem like they're just such curious and empathetic people that I love and adore everything that they do. Number two is name your favorite comedy actor or comedian. This is a really hard one because I love comedy. I like kind of darker humor, certainly. As far as like actors who are comedic, I would say maybe Anna Kendrick, who's currently working. She has such diverse interests in her films, I would say, but is always herself. She's been in Pitch Perfect, so she has musical chops. She has done more dramatic and thriller works, like Simple Plan. She was brilliant in that. And other more mixed work, she's done things like Mr. Right, which I love. That's very high action and drama, but also funny and romance. So she has this great range, and I just enjoy her every time she's on screen in any role. As far as comedians, actual proper like comedians, I would say Bo Burnham is huge for me. I got into him years ago. Actually, an ex that I was dating was really into his early work on YouTube, and he was doing YouTube and Vines, basically just doing musical comedy from his bedroom, living with his parents. And then he got big, and he has also directed some films, and they're like fantastic. He's acted, and he has done some really incredible work that is, again, insightful to the human condition. He's done some darker comedy with Inside, and most of his even musical comedy is very funny in the way that it cuts to the core of whatever he's commenting on. So love Bo Burnham. Hannah Gadsby is not musical, but is another comedian who very much is commenting on the human condition in a very critical way. I read Hannah's memoir last year before. The years are all blurring together. But even though she and I are from such different places and have such different life experiences, so much of what she talks about I feel very, very personally and connect with so strongly. So Hannah has been a big influence as a comedian for me. Eddie Izzard, I think, is another really big comedian that I have actively sought out just about everything Eddie has done, mainly because it's just funny. It has a whole range, again, musical comedy, little quips and jokes, and then longer form. I also enjoy just what Eddie has to say about the world. So interviews and podcasts I have sought out, certainly. And Eddie has been such a wide-ranging person in their stances over the years, and I just love everything that Eddie has to say and their impact on the world. Then, of course, we're going to the opposite with name your favorite dramatic or serious actor or actress, and I feel like for me, what I personally connect to, they do have to have that duality of being able to engage with the humorous side in order to have the strong emotional connection when they're serious. So I think David Tennant is probably a really big one for me. I love his just general work history. He's done everything from really comedic, light stuff to really heavy, like even Shakespearean acting. He has done web series I really enjoyed, staged, and more casual things. He seems like a very lovely person, just in general. And obviously he's the doctor, or one of the doctors. He's not my doctor, but he is the doctor. He was in Good Omens, and he and Martin Sheen very much embody those Pratchett characters for me now. So I do love David Tennant. I would say another really great dramatic actor who's not with us anymore, for kind of the same reasons as Judy Garland. She had such heart and light and humor many times, but that was the balance that then made it hit you so much harder when she engaged with really emotional moments. And she charmed pretty much everyone, really. Like, it seemed like she is such a beloved figure as an actress and singer. And I think musical drama, acting, comedy is a very strong vein all throughout here. Actually, yeah, I would say Bing Crosby, like, big name during the time, also was a huge influence on my life. I grew up with all of that. Bing Crosby, Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, Judy Garland. They were all such... Oh, Danny Kaye. Danny Kaye should have been in my comedy actors. He's fantastic. If you've not seen The Court Jester, you should see The Court Jester. Yeah, so musicals and these great sweeping stories told with music were such a big part of my life growing up. I grew up watching all of that. And so those actors and actresses really, really made an impact and have a sense of nostalgia for me massively. Next question is, name your favorite political figure, past or present. I have a fascination for political figures, but I struggle to like political figures. So that's an exceptionally hard question. I think I would probably say Ida B. Wells, if she counts as a political figure. As far as I know, she didn't ever hold office, but she was very much an advocate and activist. She was a radical force for social justice in a time when she shouldn't have had a voice. She made her voice heard. And I think she affected real change in the world. So I think she is a very meaningful participant in the political conversation. Name your favorite film writer or director. Again, tough one. I don't think I've really talked about this ever before here, but many years ago, before BookTube, used to be involved with a game online that was effectively like fantasy football, but for movies. And you made your fake studio and drafted in different films that were actual films coming out, and tried to balance your box office versus indie picks that were going to make lots versus how much they cost to film, etc., etc. So I got very into film for a while. I think probably for dramatic film, Gus Van Sant is pretty much all hits. He has a certain style and vision that's really, really clear. He did things like My Own Private Idaho, Only Cowgirls Get the Blues, Paranoid Park. Elephant is probably my favorite. I don't think it really has gotten massive popularity, but it's certainly a cult hit. It's very quiet. It's got lots of long, slow shots, and it is incredibly emotional and powerful. Very dramatic. On the humor side, probably Stephen Chow is a good one. And he is a total triple threat because he writes, he directs, he acts in his films. He's probably most well known for Kung Fu Hustle, but I think Shaolin Soccer is maybe my favorite. And he is so talented and so consistent. And also his movies are completely action-packed with lots of martial arts too, so he's amazing. Really incredible filmmaker. Sorry, the tablet locked itself. So the next question is, name your favorite new discovery. That's hard because we are all constantly discovering new people, and some of them stick with us and some don't. So I'm gonna go with someone who's not a completely new discovery, but is fairly recent and is so consistent and reliably a person that I want to continue to hear from and get informed by, and that is Abigail Thorne of PhilosophyTube. So I discovered Abigail's channel, I think last year probably, which was too late. Like, I should have known about this for a long time, and I just ignored when people mentioned it or thought it wasn't for me, didn't ever check it out. And oh my gosh, every single video that Abigail puts out is so well researched, so thought out, and so well and concisely presented. I'm always informed by Abigail's videos, and I just love watching what she does. So every single video is, again, going back to, my commentary on things I've said, what I like about people. It's very funny, it's very dramatic, it's very curious about the world around us and full of empathy for how we move through the world together as people. So I really, really enjoy Abigail's videos, and I have recommended several of them here before. So highly recommend you check out PhilosophyTube. Next one is, name your favorite musician or singer, which is also a really impossible, difficult question because I have such varying taste. So this is going to be a real tough one. I think I'm gonna go for mainly my like big bombastic. So going back to I love musicals, these kind of fit there. So I really got into David Bowie, Queen, and Elton John only as an adult. I had basically never even heard their music until adulthood, and I just went down the rabbit hole. Absolutely fell in love with them. They're so my style. They're very flamboyant, over the top. Concept albums are a big thing that I really, really love, and they all have that kind of vibe of really theatrical, big, showy pieces. But on the flip side, I also was an emo kid, and I adore Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance. So I very much am maybe in the minority for this opinion, but I really think he is a true artist of our time. He has done, he took the grief of 9/11 in the US and funneled it into making art. He was in school for comic art basically, and walked away and went and started a band, and that became My Chemical Romance. And that was where he put his emotions over this horrible thing that happened. And he created these stories. Each of the albums has a very distinct story that they put out. And as they went on and had money to do things, he really made big showpieces out of these albums and the music videos, and did really creative artistic things. And then he really transitioned into a big comic book career much more, or he got the traction to engage with that side of what he was doing. So he made Umbrella Academy, which has since become this really wonderful phenomenon, as well as a TV show and a comic series. And it has such a message and vision to it that I love. He's also just a really cool person and has been through some struggles in his life, beyond just overcoming, his trauma and emotions over 9/11. He's been through addiction and recovery, and really been kind of public and open about that. And so he's just a very inspiring person who I love. So that was a big ramble. I talked less about Queen and Bowie. They are people who were not living at the time I was engaging with them, so I have less knowledge of them as people than of their work, I would say. Whereas Gerard Way, I was growing up very much with him and really have engaged with him as a person who I feel a connection to. So anyway, the next question is, last question is, name your biggest inspirational person. That's really hard. I am very inspired by a lot of the youths that are coming up right now, and outspoken voices. I would say Malala Yousafzai is really a person I look up to, who is a bit younger than me, but has faced so many challenges from the part of the world that she is from, to be this just incredibly well-spoken woman with a voice who wants to make change. There are so many people in the generation behind me that are now in their early 20s or late teens who are using their voices to affect real change and trying to assure that they are heard in that. And they are making me certainly feel hopeful for the future and inspiring me. On a more personal level, I would say probably Kitten Lady. I adore her as a person. She is just lovely, and she is, again, really doing a lot to make change in the lives of animals and educate. She is truly an advocate for neonatal cats specifically, but broadly cats around the world. She's traveled all over the world to connect with rescues and help get them skill sets to make the lives of animals better. And I just feel like she has such a heart for the work that she's doing and is such a clear communicator of the skills that she's trying to get across that, yeah, I think she inspires me so much and has really had an effect on my life personally as I've gone through the journey of becoming a cat person and learning to trap, neuter, return, and foster cats. She has really been instrumental to that work for me and giving me the courage and skills to do it. And we end with tagging some people who I don't know who I'm going to tag. I didn't look, and I feel like everyone has already done this tag. So if you've not and you want to do the tag, consider yourself tagged. I think that is it for me today. Thank you so very much for watching.